Hello and welcome to the Multiple Truths podcast. I'm your host, Natalia, and let's dive into today's episode. So welcome. Today we will be doing a solo episode. I'm so excited to record. I feel like, ever since me, Britt, and Holly came together and started this podcast, so many beautiful things, so many internal shifts have been happening for us individually. And I think it's very important to also discuss them with you so you get to know us a little bit more on top of getting to know other people and hearing other people's opinions and truths. That's the whole point of this podcast, is to really allow us to extend and open up our horizons a little bit more when it comes to perspectives, when it comes to opinions, because sometimes we can get so caught up in having it or believing something in one way that we get closed off to all these multiple other lanes that exist and that are true. I always like to say that there are layers to wisdom, there are layers to truth, and it's not only one shoe fits all. I mean, I think Britt is the one that really got that download message. And I love it so much because it's so true, right? And so when it comes to me, I really wanted to hop on today and discuss the alter ego. I know that the ego itself can have such a negative context to it. I get it. In the tarot deck, it's literally depicted as the devil. So that all on its own pretty much tells you the ego, the alter ego, has such like a negative context to it all the time, right? It's like something that we hide from, we're ashamed of, what we feel guilty of for even feeling, like our intrusive thoughts, everything, right? And so one of my big realizations or aha moments or breakthroughs that I've had recently is in regards to the ego, in regards to my alter ego, the alter ego that I created at the age of 7 to protect myself, to really allow myself to feel safe. And so before anything else, I am going to be bringing up my personal life and family members. And I want to say this is not to talk ill about anyone or to, I'm not angry. I'm not an angry person. I never have been. I'm a lover girl through and through. And when it comes to everybody that I will be talking about in this episode, I want to say that I have nothing but love and respect for you, because if it wasn't for you and if it wasn't for everything that I have gone through, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today. And for that, I have no words. I'm just so grateful. So bringing it back to when I was 7. So I grew up here in Canada. I was born in Poland, but I came here when I was 4.5. I'm the eldest of 4. I have 2 younger sisters and a brother. And so growing up, it was a lot. My parents were both Europeans, both working hard, trying to make a living for us. English wasn't their first language, Polish was. So it was difficult for my parents, and I'll give them that. Like they really did do their best. My mom would be working 2-3 jobs at a time, just trying to help support us. And so a lot of the responsibility fell on me. I was the eldest daughter, and I remember growing up, I was like mommy 2.0, when it came to the grocery runs or the taking care of the kids or the giving baths and changing diapers and even going to school interviews and taking them to karate lessons, to swimming lessons, to piano lessons. I was there and I took care of my people because that's how I am. I'm a lover girl. I love family. And so I did that. However, at the same time, you can see how that can be almost compromising in a lot of ways for me, because a lot of the attention was always on everyone else other than me. And so from a young age, it was just very clear to me that the only option that I had was to be a good girl, to behave, and to take care of everybody else. That was just something that was instilled from a very young age, and that my emotions don't matter. That was extremely difficult for me as a child to really understand and comprehend. I didn't really know. It's not like I had parents that would sit down with me and communicate. Everything was just kind of thrown at me. And it's like I had to learn through life experiences, if I didn't behave, if I didn't listen, there were consequences. My parents were European. They were not afraid to get their hands on me. And it's something that I just knew from a young age, like, okay, Nat, so we know that this and this behavior works, but those behaviors don't. Like, they're not acceptable, right? And so because I, from a very, like, I mean, the youngest that I can remember, I was 4. And that's a really young age if I think about it. Like, my daughter's going to be 6 now. And to think, like, I was 4 years old having these emotions, thinking about, okay, this works, but that doesn't. So I can't show people this, but I can show people that. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot on a little body and a little mind. So I remember it was, like, obviously very difficult for me to be open and be authentic. Like, I would shut myself down really quick, and I self-sacrificed myself. And that started very young. And because there was such an emphasis on life and the stress of, my parents were very stressed coming to Canada, like not having any sort of like income to rely on, having to really build themselves up from the ground up. It's hard and it's stressful. And I know that. And so like, I understand that from their perspective, they were going through a lot. And so I understand their mentality. I really, really do. And I really want to emphasize that. Because people could only give you what they have inside of them. And if you're coming in from a foreign country, not knowing the language fully, not being financially secure, you're going to be freaking out. You're going to be stressed. And on top of that, with kids, it was just me and my sister at the time. That's a lot. That's a lot on you, And so how that impacted me was from a young age, I just felt like nobody cared about me, And it was interesting because on the outside, you wouldn't be able to tell. On the outside, and I think this is where my alter ego also kind of what helped it create its form, and how this form later on in my life started showing up in relationships and patterns that kept repeating. So there was a big, and I'm getting chills as I'm talking about this, I know this is going to be significant. So there was a big emphasis on how we present ourselves, how we look. How do we look to the outside world? And I understand, I get it. It's important. First impressions. My mom always taught me how first impressions are the most important, and how you look and how you dress. I have my style because of my mom, that's for sure, So I know that when it comes to me, it was always about the image. It was always about the outside, not enough emphasis on the inside. Okay, it's like the inside would go unnoticed. It would be swept underneath the rug. However, the inside was very much important. It was very much alive, and it very much wanted attention, and it wanted to be seen. It wanted to be heard. It wanted to be validated. So on the outside, I presented as this shy, soft, timid, serious little girl. On the inside, I had a million things going in my mind all at once. I am a Virgo rising sun. So the Virgo placements in my chart are very real. And it makes sense. When you know me, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. I'm just like a very deep individual. I can't help it. I'm very deep. I love it though. Yeah, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. Anyways, so because there was a big emphasis on the image, how do you look like? My mom always I remember she brought this from her home. And she passed it down to us. She would always say, don't embarrass me. Don't go out there and embarrass me. And I kept that. And it was something that was ingrained in my brain from a very young age. However, let me make this very abundantly clear. I am not perfect. And because of this not being seen, not being heard, not being validated, all of these parts of me that I suppressed, that I had no choice but to suppress, they were with me. They followed me everywhere I go. And no matter what, I couldn't get rid of them. And it's like, for as long as I tried to hide, I tried to suppress, I tried to keep the skeletons in the closet. And for a long time, I was successful. However, I did not see how this was then manifesting in my day-to-day life, how it was manifesting in my relationships. And so, because from a young age, I was taught to run away from my emotions, run away from these dark sides. We don't talk about these dark sides. We don't pay attention to, we don't show people this dark side, right? It's like I learned the art of detachment really quickly, the art of being avoidant, because my emotions weren't taken seriously. And because, I didn't have parents that were emotionally able to be there for me and hold the container, I ran away. And so at the age of 7, this was very, very prominent in my life. And this was the time where I really started to categorize. I really started putting, okay, Nat, this is where I really created, without even realizing it, without consciously realizing it, this is where I created my alter ego. And my alter ego, I know like for a lot of us, our alter egos, they can manifest in a way like, oh, this is you wanting to fit in. Maybe you put on a mask because this is acceptable, or like you're very adaptable to your environment and stuff like that. My alter ego, it wasn't so much that. I didn't want to fit in. I mean, from a young age, I never fit in. I never felt like I was normal. I always felt like an outsider, always. Like I remember even being a young child and being invited to birthday parties, and it was like at the indoor playground, and I remember like being with the other kids and like everybody was talking, and I just would sit there and I was like, I don't belong here. I don't feel connected. I just felt like such an outsider. And that's something that I wasn't able to tell anyone because I thought like people would judge me and think I'm crazy. And I thought I was like the only one that felt like this. So to me, feeling foreign or feeling like I don't belong here has been something that I've always felt. Always. And I guess in a way, like my life really shows you that too, because I don't live a typical life here. I just kind of like do what I feel like. If you know, you know, which is not a bad thing. I love it. I love it. Anyways, okay, bringing it back to the alter ego. So my alter ego was this, okay, so I know what people deem acceptable. I know what works, and I know how to be a good girl. I've learned to be a good girl, and I know what that looks like. So let me allow to have this little alter ego where I can be bad, where I can be a bad girl. And I mean, okay, bad girl, what does that mean? I mean, like even the labels itself, like I don't even know why there's such an emphasis on like good girl and bad girl, because I really try to be conscious with that, even with my daughter, when I'm trying to label behavior. I just don't like the labeling of, oh, that's good behavior and that's bad behavior. Because when it comes to being human, you're going to feel all of the emotions. That's a part of the package of having this human experience. And so labeling some emotions as bad and then others as good, to me yes, of course, it can be easy and it can get the job done in the moment. However, it can have detrimental long-term effects. So it's just been an interesting journey trying to navigate the labels, because I know like we're big on the labels, but I also feel like labels have a way of dividing. And the point isn't to divide. The point is to come into unison, into harmony. You know what I mean? Into balance with one another. Anyways, I kind of went off track there. So bringing it back to me wanting to create like this bad girl. It wasn't even like a bad girl, like, oh, like I'm going to be violent. Like I'm not a violent person. I never have been. Violence actually scares the living crap out of me. I don't like it. It breaks my heart. I can't even watch like violent scenes on on movies anymore because of how much it affects me. No, I'm not a violent person in that way. However, to me, being bad was, okay, so I only show people certain parts of me, but then I'm going to keep the bad ones to me. It was a lot of like hurting me. Now that I think of it, this bad girl Nat, this alter ego of mine, it was not so much a way of how can I hurt other people, but how can I hurt me, And it's not so much like physically hurt me. No, but in a way it was like this, and I'm getting chills as I'm saying that because I know like this is something that's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me because it's still very fresh and it's been part of me. And so like I want to talk about it with the utmost love and respect because I mentioned how this alter ego was in a way to like, oh, how can I be a bad girl? And like I talked about smoking cigarettes, but most importantly, I think above all, it was the mindset. It was my mind, and I'm getting chills. It was my mind. My mind was dark. My mind was full of dark thoughts, and I wasn't afraid to like think of them and to just explore them a little bit. And I never did anything with them. However, they were there and they were very much alive. And so it was like the thoughts that then later on just stayed with me. I remember growing up, I always like talked with no filter. Like I know my mom would always like comment like, "Now, why would you say something like that?" And I'm like, I don't know. I just like, I speak my truth. Like I just don't hold anything back, even though it was like a little bit twisted, you know? But thinking about this alter ego, it was painful in a way, because to carry that kind of attitude, you know, to carry that, well, they don't care about me, so why should I care about myself? That hurts. That really hurt me. And I carried that for a really long time. And I think that's what made me able to run away from relationships, from things really easily, because it was just, I had no problem switching on this. I don't care. I don't care, you know? And naturally, because I inflicted that onto me, and that was the relationship that I had with myself, that was going to manifest with the relationships in my life. And so even when it came to close friends, even when it came to intimate relationships, it was very much like, you're here, okay, you're with me, I love you, and I love deeply, and I love unconditionally, I really do. But then it's like, as soon as it got hard, or as soon as things went south, it was just like, oh, okay, well, this is now too much for us. Like, we gotta go. We gotta go. Any sign of conflict, any sign of arguing, any sign of just not being on the same page, I was like, okay, no, we gotta go. We gotta go. We're not safe here anymore. That was hard. And I always thought that there was like something wrong with me, because like I would have these incredible friendships and relationships, and as soon as they would end, I would be fine. I would be fine. Like it would be concerning how fine I was. And so that was really hard to navigate almost through, because it's not that I like shut my emotions off. Not that I did it consciously anyway. It's like, I don't know what it was. It was like a switch. It was like a switch. And even when time would go on and I would have emotions come up and like, oh, I would miss a person, or I would have something come up, I was so easy to like, no. Don't get me wrong. I've always been emotional. So if I needed to cry, I would cry, but it was it was surface level. It wasn't deep. And it wasn't until leaving my abusive ex, and I did date a little bit after leaving him, but it wasn't until I stopped dating completely and I sat with myself. I was actually forced to sit with myself, sit with my emotions, sit with the skeletons in my closet and love them fully. That's where I had my cries. That's where I felt the emotion. That's where I felt the pain. That's where I felt this unbearable pain. It was unbearable. I can't even describe it to you. But in a way, I'm so grateful that I have allowed myself to go as deeply as I have, because now more than ever, I really value the relationships in my life. I value sitting through the uncomfortable parts. I value allowing myself to be seen, heard, and validated. And because of loving myself and seeing myself and holding space for little Nat and loving her unconditionally, this has allowed me to meet people like Holly and Brittany that have welcomed me and held space for me and don't judge me. And I think that's the most amazing thing. Oftentimes people are so opinionated, and I get it. I get it. We're opinionated. I'm a Virgo. You know, like if somebody's going to criticize you, it's going to be me. I'm like laughing at myself, but I'm like, no, like I'm not that mean. I'm not that cruel. But anyways, that was like, I made fun of myself there. You're welcome. But yeah, just allowing yourself to be emotionally naked and raw with yourself is the key. That is the key. Okay? Because you can only run so far, but everything is going to follow you. Your past is going to follow you. There's no way of escaping it. There is no way of escaping it. I'm grateful for allowing myself to go as deeply as I have, because it has allowed me to meet versions of myself and to see versions of myself that have been desperate to come out, that have been desperate to be loved, seen, and held unconditionally. I think at the end of the day, we all want to be loved unconditionally. We all want to be seen. We all want to be heard. And even though not all of us are going to maybe own up to that, I will be the first to tell you, like I want to be loved. I want to be like all gushy, and I want to be seen and heard and validated. And even though it's been uncomfortable and it's been quite the journey, I'm so happy to have done it and to really have seen, how do they say it? Like the works of your labor, like you put so much time and energy. And for the longest time, I wouldn't see anything. Like I had to literally lose everything. I lost everything. I'm not even joking. I lost my job. I lost my apartment, almost lost my car even. Like it was bad. I had to lose everything to realize that everything that I need is within me, and that I just really needed to fall in love with myself and to know that there is nothing greater than me. There's no physical thing. There's no materialistic thing that can outweigh me and my love, my importance, the power of me, of my soul. And it's been so interesting and hard and complicated, but yet I have nothing but gratitude in my heart. And I could be the first to tell you that it's worth it. It's worth it to sit with yourself. And believe me, like I would be the last person to tell you to sit with yourself. And I know, what's so interesting, because I'm saying like, sit with yourself. Not every single emotion or feeling has to be sat with. I actually recently saw an Instagram post where they talked about this, like not every single feeling and emotion. And I agree. I really do agree, because not everything has to be dissected. A lot of the times, and it's so interesting that like I'm talking about this right now, for my clients, like when I'm doing a Kundalini Reiki session on them, a lot of the times, people are always going to come in and expect like, oh, what is going to happen? Like, what can I expect in these sessions? Like, what's going to happen to me? Where am I going to go? A lot of like the control, the ego wants to come in, wants to control the situation, wants to control the outcome. And I tell them the best case scenario, the best advice that I can give you is allow yourself to be an observer of your emotions and feelings. Have your feelings come up, have your emotions come up, but instead of attaching yourself to them, which is what we do, we attach ourselves to our emotions and to our feelings, and then we make it into our identities. Allow yourself to observe. Allow yourself to let these feelings come up and let them release and move on. Because we are not our emotions. We are not our feelings, okay? Our feelings and emotions are tools to help us understand us on a deeper level. Our emotions are there to communicate with us. Hey, babe, this is what's going on. Can you see me? Can you address me? It's like when you're in a room and somebody pops in and you're doing everything to avoid them, but the person's there though. You can look away, you can pretend you're doing something else, but the person is there. And the best way is not to ignore it, is to acknowledge it. Hey, what's up? What are you doing here? And then let it move on. You know what I mean? But don't attach yourself to this person. You don't want to do that, but you're looking at it. You're seeing it, and then you're letting it move on. Like I often use the analogy of your emotions and feelings are like inviting a friend over for a coffee. You're not inviting the friend to live with you forever. No, you're not attaching yourself to your friend. You're just having your friend come over, you're having a little coffee, and then you're moving on with your lives. Do you know what I'm saying? But a lot of the times I get it. Like there's such like a big fear in regards to allowing yourself to go there, to feel or to sit with yourself. A lot of the times people are scared. And I get it. I mean, I've been there. I have been there a lot of the time, like many times. And again, it's not so much like to attach yourself. Don't attach yourself. Don't attach yourself to your feelings and emotions. You are not your feelings and emotions. You are something so much greater. Your soul, your essence, your being is so much more than the emotions, than the feelings. We are so much greater than that. Your capacity to feel, your capacity to love, your capacity to stand in your power outweighs any of those feelings and emotions. But I know that a lot of the times we don't allow ourselves to step into our power. We don't allow ourselves to go there in fear. If you're going to take any sort of advice, is allow yourself to feel the fear, but don't let it dictate your life. You know what I'm saying? Like my motto for 2024 is literally let me feel the fear and do it anyway. You know what? Because fear is going to be there no matter what. But to me, I don't want to be the person that allows fear to get in the way of me living my life. You know, like I've done that for so long. Like I'm done. This is the year where that's going to stop. This is where it ends. And it ends with a choice. It ends with a decision. It ends with you, because that is the power that you hold. That is the power that you truly possess. And I want you to believe in that. And I want you to own that power, because it is yours. It is yours to begin with. And a lot of the times, like, I want to quickly just touch base on taking accountability. I'm a huge advocate for taking accountability and ownership. And I do this not to excuse the abuse or the toxic behavior that I have endured. Hell no. Hell no. I am not giving that any power. No. I take ownership and I take accountability for my life, for me, because that gives me power over it. That allows me to take back my power. Because if I didn't, or if I don't, I automatically leave my power with that thing, with that person, with that situation that has happened. And sorry, but I'm not here to be living in your pain and your suffering. I am here to be me and to live for me, to live in my authenticity. And my authenticity is love and is truth. So therefore, allowing myself to take accountability and take ownership, it really allows me and helps me to tap into my strength, tap into my ability to transmute and alchemize anything. And I mean anything that is sent to interfere with that is sent to literally knock me off my track, knock me off my feet. Like, I am not about giving away my power to things or situations outside of me anymore. No, I think this is why things continued happening to me, because it was like the universe was like, okay, when are you going to take back your power? When are you going to own it? When are you going to take accountability? When are you going to finally say, oh my God, it is me. It is up to me. You know, how my life is going to look like. And it's all about perception. It's all about your mindset. It's all about how you're looking at things. You know, I always think of, you know, that quote where they say you have two people in this world. You have one that looks at everything as a miracle, or the second where you look as nothing as a miracle. And I just happen to be one of those that looks at everything as a miracle, because it is a miracle. It's a miracle that we're here. It's a miracle that we're here at the exact same time. It's a miracle that you're listening to me and we're able to share space and communicate with people all over the world and connect and resonate. And it's amazing how energy works and how we're here. I just think it's amazing. Anyways, thank you so much for listening and tuning in to today's episode. It has been such a pleasure to sit and chat with you all. If you have any questions or you would like to know more information on anything that I talked about today, please don't hesitate to reach out or even to follow us on our Instagram at the Multiple Truths Podcast. You can message us there. It's been such an honor. I'm sending you so much love and light. Remember, you are so much more powerful than you can ever imagine. I love you. I see you. I hear you. I validate you. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.